to the place in the middle of the sun. And we'll sing this song, sing it one by one.
What's going on, guys? Thanks so much for tuning in to today's show. Got a great one for you today where I welcome Sheila Robinson Kiss. And Sheila is a MSNBC featured mental health expert and leads the Rebalancing America and Beyond initiative. She is a social entrepreneur focused on providing exceptional mental health education and impactful relationship advice on grassroots, national, and global scale. And today, Sheila and I dive into what to do if you don't feel like your partner has your back, or maybe you're listening, you're like, I don't feel like I really have my partner's back. And certainly that's not a feeling we want. We want to feel like we're a team. And Sheila gives us some great tools to identify the issue, the underlying issue there, and how to communicate with our partner if we don't feel like they have our back, and how to form a tighter bond and feel like we got each other's back, like we're a team. And Sheila gives some great actionable tips on how to do that. I really enjoyed today's conversation. I hope you guys do too. As always, thanks for tuning in. Hope you're having a wonderful day wherever you're listening from, and enjoy today's show. Hi, Sheila. Thanks so much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Today, we are going to talk about something that you're very passionate about, and that is the most important feeling your partner must have consistently in a relationship. So let's start by having you tell us what that feeling is, and we will talk about how we can improve it, cultivate it for ourselves and with our partner.
Okay, wonderful. I've been doing this work, it'll be 25 years in February, and the most important, the cornerstone, this is what I talk to couples about. If you really want that, robust, connected, bonded feeling with your partner, they need to really feel and receive on a consistent basis, quite frankly, that you've got their back. You have their best interest at heart. And when you are admitting that, and they feel that on a consistent basis, it raises the vibration of the relationship. It cements the bond, and boy, does it check a lot of boxes.
What can someone do if they're listening to this and they're like, yeah, I don't really feel like my partner has my back, and obviously sometimes it's a little bit of a feeling, or it might be a lot. How can we think about that individually, and how can we communicate that to our partner?
Well, the last word you said is key. Everything, the relationship will rise and fall on communication. And if you're not feeling that from your partner, rather than let resentments build, rather than let the relationship drift off into the abyss, it really is time to sit down and have a conversation. That doesn't need to be something that's, nasty or accusatory, just very plain and simple. Darling, I don't have the feeling lately that we're working as a team. I don't feel like you have my back. And I want you to feel that. And I want to feel that coming from you. So it really does start with communication. And then beyond that, being very transparent about, because you having my back, every relationship is different. What that would look like for me, it may be different for you. And then communicating some of the things that you would like to see that would really generate that feeling. So it really starts with, just being transparent about how you're feeling and where the relationship is.
What are some realistic expectations? You said communicating some things that we would like to see. I think sometimes we have unrealistic expectations about what our partners should do. That word should, right? What are some realistic expectations for how a partner should act that we feel we're on the same team, that they got our back?
Yeah, I have to tell you, one of the biggest complaints that I hear when couples reach out is, Sheila, we have something that looks like time is spent together. We're kind of in the same room, or we're, XYZ, but we're not spending that quality time together. I don't feel like I'm a priority. I think of a very like a base level expectation in a relationship. I mean, it's called significant other because your partner should be significant above all others. Do you have time set aside, even if it's just a couple minutes? One of the things, I tell couples to do every day, you should have a 10-second huddle where you are holding your partner, you hug them, and you say to them some version of, I want the best for you. It seems like something so basic and elementary, but that little gesture alone, I've seen it do a lot to restore the bond in relationships. So, full circle to answer your question, I think a reasonable expectation is that we would have, something that we're doing, every day, just a little thing to cement our bond, and time set aside during the week and during the month to nurture the bond. That's generally what a primary issue is just relationship drift.
Certainly, that is something that's going to come up. And we've talked about that on the show, ways to cultivate connection. And it does take a concerted effort. But I want to focus on this feeling that our partner has our back. So let's say we go to our partner and we communicate, with I statements. We're not accusatory or blaming, but that's not a nice thing to necessarily hear. And so our partner might become defensive. What are some things we could say to kind of get them at ease and begin to bond and get each other's back?
I'm a firm believer that everything has to do with, it's not necessarily what you say, it's really the delivery, how you're communicating it. So, one recommendation I have is to, if this is your truth, I will say, I'll put a caveat there. If this is your truth and you truly do care and love your partner, just start there. I care about you. You are the most important person to me in the world. And that's why I want to sit down and have this conversation. And you really open it up that way. I think if your partner is over defended, and this can happen a lot, or super sensitive, or you're not even in the habit inside of your relationship to have an open, honest dialogue, just be real with yourself. It can be intimidating to sit down. It's interesting that we don't have a problem getting naked with one another, but then, having these front-facing, heart-to-heart conversations is very hard for a lot of people. So I suggest start with the truth. I'm coming to you just out of love, and I want you to be happy. I want you to be happy. And I want to feel the same way. So that can soften it a little bit. But the reality is every part of a relationship is not going to be easy and pleasant. And sometimes we have to get in the saddle of that discomfort and sit with it and cut through it to get to better.
What would you tell someone that's listening who is feeling a lot of anxiety about coming to their partner with this? You've given us some great tips on how to approach it, what to say, but working up that courage to have those difficult conversations in a relationship.
Yeah, one of the things that I say to folks, and it's pretty black and white, is the anxiety. That's going to be normal, especially if you're not in a routine of communicating your feelings or communicating at this level. But you have to ask yourself, how do I feel right now? I'm not comfortable and I'm feeling bad in the relationship now. I think of a fair trade-off for a shot at some relief and release and elevation is, what? My hands may sweat a little bit, my voice may crack a bit, but I'm already feeling extremely uncomfortable. I'm already feeling bad. So if you look at it from that perspective, this is a way to get you out of a situation that already doesn't feel good. So it's just kind of playing with perspective.
What are some reasons that people may, I don't want to say just drift apart, but not feel like they have their partner's back? For the person listening, it's like, yeah, I don't really feel like I have my partner's back. And maybe I feel like a lot of times that would be because they don't feel like they have their back.
Yeah, I think, gosh, it's an interesting question. I think there could be millions of different reasons, but I can share with you some of the reasons that couples have shared with me. One of them has to do with the relationship having moved into a stale place. That maintenance has not been there. We really just it's back to that drift. We don't feel as close anymore. Other reasons are just the general weight of how busy we all are in our lives and in this world, and just not taking the time to nurture the bond. Sometimes a big one I see is past resentments and hostilities that have never been dealt with. It's the old sweep it under the rug, never deal with it. And I tell people, you can decide, not to do the apologies, not to work through it. But like my grandfather used to say, it's like that, the refrigerator, the bottom of the drawers where you have the cheese and the celery, and you open it up and it's like, oh my God, what happened? I don't want to clean this up. And you go back 6 months later and it's worse. So the words, how we speak, what we say, things that haven't been processed, it'll sit there. It'll sit there and it becomes the Grand Canyon between you. So those are a few of the reasons that folks just don't, I don't feel like my partner has my back. I feel like I'm living with them. I see them every day, but I feel ghosted emotionally.
My feeling is that people who are insecurely attached may also struggle with that feeling, even if, let's say, a partner is actively trying to support their partner and have their back. But I feel like sometimes people just aren't in a place to receive that.
Oh yeah. I couldn't, I could not agree more. And I think, often when this subject comes up, people are tempted to sugarcoat it and dance around it. The reality is you could be paired with someone who is, whether it's mental illness or whether it's just deep insecurities they haven't worked through. You can do backflips. You could be doing everything right. They are just not in a place within themselves, and you're not going to get them there to receive it. And that's a whole different conversation. That's something where, I love you dearly, and I want to see you get some support so that, we can have the bonded relationship and connection that I know there's the potential to have it. But that, that's a whole different ball game. And I see that quite a lot. And people just, they're banging their head against the wall. What else can I do? What else can I do? And the answer to them is try to support them into getting some help, because, this is not something that you're going to be able to resolve for them. That's deep internal work they need to do. And that's just the truth.
And I know we don't have the time and space to dive super deep into that, but what could be some reasons if someone's listening and they're like, yeah, my partner is supportive. I know they have my back, but sometimes I'm my own worst enemy. What are some things besides definitely always recommend, getting help from a professional therapist? That's going to be amazing. But what are some things a partner like this can start to think about to change the story, to change the narrative, to start to trust their partner more?
Sure. I think it wouldn't be an issue, if you will, of trusting their partner. It really has to do with trusting themselves and holding themselves accountable. One of the things that I tell men and women, who reach out and who are really struggling with deep insecurities, not able to receive the full breadth and depth of the warmth, affection, love, and support from their partner, I tell them get real clear. Get out of the game zone and get real clear on what is your stuff. And you do this by, having that come to Jesus time with yourself, and you write it down like this is my baggage. This is my stuff. These are my perceptions. These are my insecurities, because the clearer you are on what your stuff is, when it rears its ugly head, then you won't project that onto them and go further and further into eroding your relationship. And accountability, it serves that individual very well, because they can look themselves in the mirror and say, you know what, this is really, really hard, but I'm dealing with it, and you can get yourself some tools. There's thousands of videos on YouTube about, dealing with personal insecurities, various toolkits. And so you have something that you can do for yourself instead of projecting all of that onto your relationship. And I'm just a firm believer that our partners are meant to come into our lives and compliment us and love us and support us. But there are pieces of all of us that we are accountable for. And if you put that on your partner unfairly, it's just an excellent way to create a lot of exhaustion. So, that's something to think about.
Before we continue on, we want to tell you about today's sponsors. Today's episode is brought to you by Headspace.
Wouldn't it be great if there were a pocket-sized guide that helped you sleep, focus, and just overall feel better? Well, there is, and if you have 10 minutes, Headspace can change your life. Headspace is your daily dose of mindfulness in the form of guided meditations in an easy-to-use app.
Headspace is one of the only meditation apps advancing the field of mindfulness and meditation through clinically validated research. So whatever the situation, Headspace can really help you feel better.
For example, if you're feeling overwhelmed, Headspace has 3-minute SOS meditations to make you feel more relaxed and at peace. And if you need some help falling asleep, Headspace has wind down sessions that I love after the end of a long, busy day where maybe my head is still turning. And for parents, Headspace even has morning meditations you can do with your kids, which we sometimes do with Stella.
She loves it. Headspace's approach to mindfulness can reduce stress, improve sleep, boost focus, and increase your overall sense of well-being. We talk about the benefits of meditation all the time on the show and how it can truly transform and help your relationship. I've been using Headspace for a few years now, and I can honestly say that I feel significantly better when I am consistently meditating. I am more patient with Stella, I'm more aware of how I communicate and I speak with Chase and others around me, and it's given me real tools to better handle daily challenges that life throws at us.
Headspace is backed by 25 published studies on its benefits, 600,000 5-star reviews, and over 60 million downloads. Headspace makes it easy for you to build a life-changing meditation practice with mindfulness that works for you on your schedule, anytime and anywhere.
You deserve to feel happier, and Headspace is meditation made simple. Go to headspace.com/ido. That's headspace.com/ido for a free 1-month trial with access to Headspace's full library of meditations for every situation. That is the best deal offered right now. Head to headspace.com/ido today. Today's episode is also brought to you by Dipsea. With cold temperatures outside, bring the warmth into the bedroom with Dipsea. If you're looking to heat things up, there's a story waiting for you. Dipsea is an audio app full of short, sexy stories and guided sessions that are designed to turn you on and help you get in touch with yourself. The stories are relatable and immersive, so you can feel like you're right there. And there's truly something for everyone, no matter what you're into. Dipsy helps bring stories to life anytime, anywhere, and now they even have brand new written stories. Close your eyes and let yourself get lost in a world where only good things happen and pleasure is your only priority. Explore your fantasies in a safe, shame-free way. There are hundreds of stories to choose from, and they release new content every week, so there's always more to explore. And they also have wellness sessions to help you wind down and explore, and sleep sessions to help you drift off. For listeners of the show, Dipsy is offering an extended 30-day free trial when you go to dipsystories.com/ido. That's 30 days of full access for free when you go to Dipsea, DIPSEA, stories.com/ido. Dipsystories.com/ido. Today's episode is brought to you by Bonafide. Bonafide offers naturally derived products to treat menopause, PMS, and intimacy issues. It's easy to use, safe, hormone-free, and recommended by thousands of doctors. Bonafide believes you deserve relief without compromise, so they've spent years researching and testing the purest ingredients to create safe and effective solutions. If you're experiencing symptoms related to premenopause, menopause, postmenopause, or even intimacy issues, I want to tell you a little bit about how Bonafide's products can help you. One of their products, called Reverie, provides powerful hormone-free relief from vaginal dryness with an easy-to-use vaginal insert that renews your body's moisture for everyday comfort and intimacy. Another one of their products is Serenol, which provides relief from emotional PMS symptoms, including mood swings, irritability, and uneasiness. And if you're starting to experience menopause, hot flashes, and night sweats, Relazin will help you stay cool and dry all day and night. They also offer a product called Ristella that supports sexually active women who want to enhance their response to sexual stimulation by increasing orgasms and sexual arousal. Give Bonafide a try today. No hormones and no prescription required. Real relief without compromise. To get 20% off your first purchase when you subscribe to any product, go to hellobonafide.com and use the promo code IDO. That's hellobonafide, BONAFIDE.com, and use the code IDO, that's IDO, for 20% off at checkout. Today's episode is also brought to you by Foria. Better sex starts with Foria. People may not think they need that little extra help in the bedroom, but I was pleasantly surprised by how much better and more pleasurable my sexual experiences are when I use Foria. Foria is using all natural and plant-based ingredients to intensify sexual pleasure and relieve discomfort. Foria makes products that will transform your sexual pleasure. Foria's products are made to help women and people with vulvas fully experience their sexual pleasure, from heightened orgasms to more sexual comfort. Foria's bestseller, the Awaken Arousal Oil, is the ultimate pleasure pregame. The Arousal Awaken Oil is like a juicy warm-up that helps you get really turned on, increasing your pleasure and deepening your orgasms with a partner or even solo. Awaken uses CBD and warming, sensation-inducing organic botanicals that enhance arousal, sensitivity, pleasure, access to orgasms, and helps relieve any discomfort. Best of all, Awaken just turns you on. And my favorite combo is to use Foria's Awaken Arousal Oil and the Sex Oil for a perfect combo for peak pleasure. So yes, you have my permission to try this. I fully endorse you to go ahead and treat yourself to more deeper, fuller pleasure whenever you can find it, as often as possible, and you can start with a bottle of Foria. Foria is offering a special deal for our listeners. Get 20% off your first order by visiting foriawellness.com/IDO or use the code IDO at checkout. That's Foria, Foria, wellness.com/IDO for 20% off your first order. I recommend trying their Awaken Arousal Oil and their Sex Oil. You will thank me later.
That's an important distinction to say, hey, this is my stuff, and to recognize that and to communicate that to your partner. Because let's say there's a partner who's like, my partner has no reason not to feel like I have their back. I'm doing all these things, but they don't feel it. And that can be frustrating in itself. But then the other partner, if they recognize that, that's a great start. And then they could say, hey, I know you have my back. I'm working through my stuff.
Yes, exactly. I am highly sensitive person, come from a challenging background of neglect growing up. And I knew very well when I met my husband, there were some triggers. And I was very clear with him, there are things I'm always going to come to you if I need just that little extra encouragement. But there's things that I just don't bring to him. And you know what? And when they rear their ugly heads, I take responsibility. This is my stuff. I'm sorry, seeped out, slipped through. And that's a very healthy place to be in a relationship. And when we get those lines blurred and just are not accountable for what we're bringing to it, good, bad, ugly, and indifferent, it's unfair to us and it's unfair to the partnership. So what you said is really spot on.
We've talked a lot about identifying kind of the negative side of this and how to approach it with our partner. Let's talk a little bit about, let's say we have the conversation, we're on the same page, maybe we're working on our own stuff. How can we move towards that positive place of really forming that bond of being a team, having each other's back?
Yeah, what I tell folks is when you are in that zone, in that space, Sheila, we've moved into this positive place. I tell them to own it, to brag about it inside of their relationship and get things positioned so these rituals, if you will, they're automated. So like I said, your partner has to be the most significant. Have that time, I call this the caring connection calendars. Have that time pre-planned. Hey, we always have something amazing and wonderful to look forward to. That is our relationship standard. Creating the things that you do consistently, and you do them to such an extent, that huddle that you do in the morning, and you make it a part of the relationship to the point that if you fall off, hey, what's missing? We're uncomfortable here. So the folks who are moving further and further into that positive, elevated realm, the word that I have for you is intentionality. Get intentional about keeping your relationship lifted. Don't just have it where, if we get to it, say, no, we honor our Friday date night. When he has something or she has something that's, amazing in life or work, we look for opportunities to celebrate one another. So it really has to do with the level of intentionality is the word that I come back to.
I love it. And I love how you said, keep the relationship lifted. Can you talk about, besides just saying, okay, Friday's our date night and making that a priority, what are some other ways we can create that importance around the relationship?
Yeah, I have so many ideas and so many things that I do and support couples in doing. So I talked to you a little bit about and it doesn't have to be in the form that I'm saying, but there should be some ritual every day of touch. It doesn't have to mean, taking your clothes off, getting in bed, but there needs to be just a physical connection with intention every day. It could be a long embrace. One of the things that me and my husband have throughout the house, we just have these they're almost like a little mistletoe. Not that you need any excuse to embrace, but we do it in a fun way because we want to make sure as we're moving throughout our day, we have that physical connection. Another thing that I really highly recommend for couples is you have a time set aside. Some like to do it every other week. Some do it once a month. I think in a healthy relationship, you're spending more time enjoying the relationship and not processing every single thing, but there should be a set aside time. I call those couples retreats. And it could just be, an hour or two where you really do sit down and check in on the relationship. How are you doing? How are things going? Anything you want to run past me? This is nice because you always know we have a ritual. I don't have to necessarily hold on to anything, or I don't have to feel like I have to process it in the moment. We have set aside time every month on our relationship retreat to do that. Other ideas I call it express romance. A lot of couples, Sheila, we're so busy, we just can't plan XYZ. I talk about that picnic, that indoor picnic before bed. Just get your blanket, a little wine and cheese. These are things that don't take all day. But when those constant streams of time together, different things, me and my husband, we keep a journal. We've had it for the last 12 years. We don't write in it every day, but for the last 12 years, there's love notes that flow back. Some mornings he'll put it on the table. I'm surprised with what he wrote. And there's some months we only do 2 or 3 passes on it, but it's romantic. It's sweet, it's nice, and it just keeps the relationship high level lifted. So, there's hundreds of different things, thousands of ideas if you really go into it. But the whole idea is whatever you do, doing it with intention.
As someone who's a mental health expert and married, how do you balance enjoying the relationship and not over processing everything?
Yeah, I can tell you there's not a lot of processing that goes on in my marriage. We are friends. We enjoy each other. If something comes up, we talk about it. But I think one of the signs of a healthy relationship is you don't have to overthink it. And, one of the things, the cornerstone for both of us is just high gratitude. We live and exist every single day in high levels of gratitude, and that checks a lot of boxes. If you stop, I like this phrase, wait, WAIT, why am I talking? And before you complain and get into all of that, stop and ask yourself, what was my life like before my partner came in? A lot of it just has to do with intentionality around perspective and how you choose to treat your partner and hold that momentum. I think that if you're constantly over processing and over talking and overthinking, it may be time for some deeper level healing in the relationship, because my belief is for a healthy relationship, or one that's coming into health, because all relationships can derail, the lion's share of our time should be spent, enjoying one another in gratitude, laughing. We do the process work to stay on track and to clear things out if there's been a hurt, or we do the process work to celebrate our elevation, and then we get right back into the movement and momentum in the relationship.
Gratitude and the WAIT acronym are so valuable, I think, especially because people tuning into this podcast are obviously seeking out relationship advice, how to improve themselves, improve their relationship. And maybe this is the only episode they're listening to, or maybe they've listened to all 300 plus. And as someone who's personally very interested in improving myself, improving my relationships, sometimes I do have to remind myself, like, all right, I got to do my work, but I don't need to always be processing things. And I think that's so valuable to keep that perspective.
Yeah, I process with people for a living, and very intentionally when I was choosing my partner. I don't know if you caught my recent piece for Psychology Today. I talk about compatibility and chemistry. I knew that I needed to select someone who was just light and airy. I love my work, but the processing and overthinking, I think it can be debilitating inside of a relationship. I think we process to clarify, and then let's just get back into the good stuff here. That's my feeling on it. So I'm all for, talking and healing, but I also quite frankly feel that if that is all a relationship has become, I think you need to be looking at some different things here, because that's not what it's about. That's not what it's all about, in my opinion.
Exactly. And one of the things I've realized personally is that, and this is not breaking news, but a lot of relationship stress starts with ourselves. It's not about our partner. And so we can do the processing, but a lot of times that's individual work. And I talk about
Yes.
it a lot on the show that it's like, it's not up to us to change our partner. Even, if we want to go to them and say, hey, I don't feel like we're on the same team, I love you and I want to get closer. That's important to communicate. But there's probably a lot of underlying things there. Maybe you can't receive that teamwork, so diving into that is so crucial and valuable.
I love what you're saying. And people skip over that. And I wish they wouldn't, because it's a fact and a reality that there's work that a great many people need to do for themselves, within themselves, and it gets projected into the relationship and projected on the relationship or the other person. And we need to stop skating around it, because it really can get in the way, bringing things full circle, this feeling of I have your back. I've seen it many, many times over the years where, hey, I'm telling you, this person has your back. I've rarely seen someone go to these extraordinary measures to prove it. You're missing it. You're missing the boat. And then people don't want to hear that they are the problem. But sometimes this is the case. It really is. It's just that simple. And you bring in therapists and books, and when really what you need is some accountability and a look in the mirror.
Absolutely. And Sheila, I think you've given myself and our listeners a lot of great things to think about, some tools to bring into the relationship today. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing all this great information. Before we wrap up, can you tell our listeners where they could find you online, and if there's anything that you want to leave our listeners with, and then we'll say goodbye?
Yes, you can, very easy to find my YouTube channel, Sheila Robinson Kiss, The Lift. You can also find me on Instagram, and feel free to drop me a line at Rebalancing America and Beyond, RAB.solutions. All of my content is viewer and subscriber driven. So if you have ideas, you want me to do a video on something, it's all driven by all of you. And what I would leave you with is my feeling on relationships is we are here to really live out our divine purpose, glory, and mission. And your relationship should complement that. And I want everyone to really, as much as you can, ask yourself the question, is that happening in my relationship and in my relationships? And if it is, celebrate it, lift it up. And if it's not, do some adjustment. And if you can't, it's time to look at alternatives. So that's what I'll leave you with. You're here to knock the ball out of the park.
Well, thank you so much, Sheila. I'll have the links to all those resources in the show notes and on the website at idopodcast.com. And thanks for taking the time to come on the show.
Thank you.
As always, thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode. As always, all the links to the guest, as well as any of their recommendations, will be in the show notes page. You can find the link to that in the episode description or by going to idopodcast.com. Click on the podcast tab up at the top, and you will have access to all the episodes that we've ever done. There are over 300 of them. And while you're on our website, if you haven't checked out our free 14-day Happy Couple Challenge, we really hope you do. It's a free email challenge that we send to you. It's 14 days of fun, easy, doable challenges to help strengthen and improve your relationship. And if you're looking for something that provides a little more help with working on your relationship, whether it's improving intimacy or communication with your partner, or just bringing the spark back, we would love for you guys to check out our online course, Spark My Relationship. We're offering $100 off to all of our listeners if you go to sparkmyrelationship.com/unlock. We've worked with over 15 psychologists and therapists to create the real life tools and strategies that they are teaching their clients. So we wanted to give them to you. It's a self-paced online course that can be done in as little as a month or up to 3 months. You can really decide how much or how little you want to do with your partner, or maybe just yourself. So we hope you guys check that out. It's sparkmyrelationship.com/unlock. Have a great day.